Barefoot Cavalry, barefootcavalry.com. Lyman Frank Baum became a member of the Theosophical Society in America. Posted November 4, 2018 by YoJack454. Located just outside of the Windy City. Never let a crisis go to waste. When Baum wrote the book, the slippers were silver, not ruby red like the Pope's. The Pope is wearing Dorothy's slippers. The Tin Man is the tax ID number. The Straw Man is a creation of the world, an empty, soulless corporation or commissar. The lion with no courage is the American people who have been effectively whipped over time. This is after they fought a war that supposedly freed all men here. 600,000 died so that the financiers could have a better hold on America. The wizard is not an easy man to find. As a matter of fact, Dorothy, Frances Ethel Gum, in life and on screen, represented the poppy-induced coma that overtook all living flesh until the good witch sprinkled the cocaine snow dust to compensate. So the Wizard of Oz is a speedball fairy tale. John Belushi would climb right in on that one. Robert De Niro and Robin Williams would deliver it to his door and skate free. Little munchkins. To get to the wizard, you have to run the gold bricks. In the book, it was silver shoes because after the war between the states, there was a great divide between Americans as to whether silver was money. The divide was so great that when President Kennedy put out a silver certificate backed by the government, he was assassinated. Hey, all you Ozzy fans, Black Sabbath is a real thing from England. Ozzy's wife, Sharon Levy, is Mr. Big's daughter. Harvey Weinstein wouldn't peek up her dress, and as soon as he broke from the mess of his personal destruction, he went to England to settle his personal effects. We have been subverted by England. The wizard represents the banks who have subjugated the royal houses of Europe and its parliaments and ensconced themselves in Brussels to rule the world as another Roman Empire. These banks run our financial world in America as well as the Federal Reserve. When you send in your check payable to the U.S. Treasury, it goes to these banks in Europe which run our money. We cannot imagine a world where the Chinese have been underground manufacturing nuclear device after nuclear device after nuclear device, or a world where Rothschild owns a majority share in the world's energy companies, or a world where J.P. Morgan saved America from a run on the banks, but he didn't own his own bank. Rothschilds did. The Panic of 1907 was run from England, and Teddy Roosevelt was the tool that helped it. He was a tool that got Woodrow Wilson elected and beholding to big donors who got everything they wanted in 1913. Why can't we imagine this? Because we have been made the Lion of Oz. You cannot talk about who owns you, and so those who consider themselves Hebrew are but a small percentage, but they are among the most influential people in America. And what do those who are run by the most influential people in Europe do? Create the Southern Poverty Law Center. Well, they did what the royal family did just recently. They married the blacks. You cannot talk about those who identify as Hebrew or black, or you will be labeled an anti-Semite or a racist. You cannot talk about those who rule you, something attributed to Voltaire. To learn who rules over you, simply find out who you are not allowed to criticize. The first commercial in the above video mentions an electric company with men working hard to make your service so good you never had to think about it. Really, it's big men working hard. Just prior to the 10:10 mark in the video, when Judy bubbles in her red dress, a group of acrobats dressed in pink suits perform He-Man stuff on the wire. As Judy starts gushing over Johnny Rivers, purportedly Marilyn Monroe's coke connection by way of Barry Seal, the man for whom Secret Agent Man was written, a success on both sides of the Atlantic. My former father-in-law, S. Herman Horton, who interviewed me in Athens, Greece in 1972, loved the song, Secret Agent Man, Barefoot Cavalry. Judy's hands form into a tortured hand-wringing as her sleeves and hands become an early representation of a pussy hat. At 11:01, her monologue goes into, a fellow asks you to dance, and you never see him again. But through all this, it is very apparent that there are new morals being foisted upon America by these white-toothed wolves of Hollywood. Then you have a flash to the audience, which is sprinkled with shady-looking men and women dressed in stuff that may have fallen off the truck. Her Ethel Merman joke was meant for the Hollywood bigwigs in the front row. The audience disappears, and Frances Ethel Gum puts her hands together and says, "Here's the man who started it all," as she woozily introduces Johnny Rivers. His bass player, who never strikes a chord, does a woozy drunk step, then stands up as if he's playing We Are Devo. This is the Hollywood Palace, and America is the lion with no courage. They ate us to the bone with trash culture and made money hand over fist while they ate whatever they wanted from generation to generation. Never letting a crisis go to waste is not a new idea. Plots in Europe thrive on crisis. When the British threw the Acadians out of Canada, sprinkled among them were subversives working for the British Crown. There are 4 states that suffer the most in America for its leaders. One is Louisiana, and the other 3 are Arkansas, West Virginia, and New York, which all have a Rockefeller connection. But Johnny is a straw man here. The man who started it all is the wizard, the man who brought the white powder. The clipper ships of New England are forever married to the blue light Federalist. When business is good, they don't take kindly to interlopers, President Kennedy. At 13:54, Johnny takes the stool and sings The Snake. 49:52, you'll see the Dutch Masters Panatellas turn out to be a gay chorale. You've got the cadet and the push-up pack singing about love, their kind of love. Love means different things to different people. We're just finding out some folks love to eat children. This is after Herbert Marcuse, America's Frankfurt School scholar, came out with Make Love, Not War. Quote, free election of masters does not abolish the master or the slave. Herbert Marcuse. Judy died in Belgravia, London, one of the wealthiest districts in the world. Judy Garland, Frances Ethel Gum, a childhood vaudeville template for Shirley Temple, was the darling of some very rich cats. The rich cats had the dope, and we all think Judy made her own decisions. Johnny Rivers is a boy from New York City who made his way to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, that's Barry Seal country, which brings us to the home of Dix. Louisiana and New Orleans. Dixie was the money. Louisiana's banking system was sound, and the $10 bill was a Dix, French for 10. It appears that it was the French Rothschilds that ran Louisiana, and which is why Carlos Marcella, born in Tunis, ran the Italian underworld of New Orleans, which figures prominently in the Kennedy assassination. Believe it or not, New Orleans was the first American city to have the Italian mafia. Another first for New Orleans, don't shoot till you see the whites of their eyes. In the early days of Boston with Whitey Bulger, an MK Ultra volunteer from his 1950s prison days, Whitey was protected by the FBI, and Robert Mueller was the U.S. attorney in Boston, sending innocent people to prison. Please search this for yourself, which covered Whitey's tracks. The FBI has segments that are the most criminal mob there is. Whitey's handlers used him as a pawn to take down the Italian mob in Boston, which is Rhode Island. The FBI and Justice Department ran Rudy Giuliani on the New York City takedown. Elements in our government were partners in the cocaine trade with the mob and the bankers. It seems that the government is now making amends for Whitey's transgressions. Whitey was wheeled into an open cell and made accessible to the general population in a Brewston Mills, West Virginia federal prison, where he was attacked with a lock and a sock. Traditions die hard in some areas. The mob guys used a prison shiv on Whitey's eyes and his tongue. We need to get rid of the bad cops and criminal element, which includes the banks of Europe. They have all been together, partnered for dope distribution. The first heroin lab was busted in Marseille, France in the 1930s. It was run by Corsicans, Marseille's criminal element, which leads us to the old swamp Yankees. These swamp Yankees no longer use clipper ships to deliver their opium. By the 1930s, they were using the U.S. Navy to haul their dope from Marseille back to the U.S. Therefore, NIS, the Naval Intelligence Service, is the dirty man who runs for the banks of Europe. This is how deep the deep state really is. Baltimore is indicative of the poison which has been enabled by graduates of Annapolis. Heroin is a long-time problem in Baltimore City. It is not too far a stretch to imagine that outside forces turn the United States of America against itself as it seeks to do today and cause 600,000 dead in the war between the states.